What's happening, YouTube? It's Simon for 66 Cards, and today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. Today, we're talking about thefts and security in the hobby. I know just a little bit about security. I won't get into why. I just know a little bit about physical security, and so I'm going to give my thoughts on that. Because in 2024, it sure feels like we reached a new level of thefts. There were two really high profile cases, which I'll go over, but it feels like even at that next layer where it's not these millions of dollars being stolen, it's still tens of thousands of dollars. That is a significant amount to people. And so that's what I'm going to talk about, because these incidents are happening and they're not going to go away because the card values have gone up enough that it is attracting thieves and scammers and these types of people, right? If the cards weren't valuable, they wouldn't waste their time doing it. But because of the value, it is now attracting these criminals, basically. And it's not going to go away. In fact, I would expect this to continue to happen unless we, the hobby, change our mindset. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm not going to talk about online scammers and that kind of stuff. This is just about physical security. And the most famous incident, I feel, is from the Dallas Card Show, which you see on your screen. This is the one where there was a great coordination, if I want to be honest, between all of the thieves, where this guy in the red circle here just walked right in and grabbed a case with $2 million worth of cards because accomplice number one distracted this guy who was working the booth. Accomplice number two distracted this second guy who was working the booth. And then accomplice number three distracted this third guy who was working the booth. And that means this fourth guy walked right in, nobody noticed, and grabbed the case and then walked right out. And that's all she wrote. So that was the first incident. The second incident was from Memory Lane Auctions, where they also lost, but then fortunately the police were able to recover $2 million worth of stolen sports cards. This one is a little bit more straightforward. They delivered the cards via FedEx to a Best Western hotel where they sat, and the Memory Lane employees, I guess, were going to pick them up, and that's where they were stolen. It seems like from an employee of the Best Western. So that was the second huge incident, and those are obviously $2 million each, and those are the high profile ones, but that doesn't mean there aren't others that just don't reach that level of millions of dollars. The most recent of which, and which caught my eye and is the reason why I made this video, it happened at the Philly Card Show in December, where these two guys, Granite State Cards and Matt Spiebel Cards, it seems like they were working the show, they went to grab dinner afterwards, left their cash and the cards in their car, and it was broken into and it was all gone, and probably because they were tailed out of the show. What was stolen, it was $26,000 in cash, all hundreds, and then a bunch of high-end cards. So if I were to guess 35 to about 60K, I haven't done a comp check on all this stuff because you see it says more to be added, but I feel like 26K in cash alone, so probably looking at 35 to 50 or 60K in value. And so again, it's not $2 million, but it's still obviously a huge number. And so you feel for these two guys who are just dealers at a card show, and in some ways you kind of feel for these guys because it's $2 million. It was all insured, but it's still like a pain in the butt, right? So that's what's happening. And there's one common theme, and it's that it seems in all of these cases, the security measures for how we protect our cards and cash has not actually kept up with the value of the cards themselves. It seems like the card values have gone up, but there hasn't been an appropriate increase in security measures that matches that increase in value. And so I think the hobby needs to change their security processes and procedures to match the value. And that requires a culture shift and a mindset shift. And that's what I really want to detail today, because it seems we're still card dealers or card people with cards. And that is true in the literal sense, but for the purposes of security, I don't think that's how we should think about it. Instead, think of it not as cards, think of it as cash. Think of each card as just a dollar bill of some sort. So you have a $1,000 card, that's a $1,000 bill. And so if you change your mindset in that sense, think of this case that this guy stole right here, not as $2 million in vintage baseball cards, as this video title says, but think of it as $2 million in cash, just sitting right here. And if that was the case, would you still have this setup? And if you want to bring it even further, think of it as not a card dealer with cash. Think of it as, what would a bank do with that amount of cash? If this was a bank running this booth and they had $2 million in this case, would they have this security set up? I'm going to say the answer is no. Secondly, again, we're now considering cards as cash. Would a bank FedEx $2 million to a Best Western hotel to have it sit in a package at a Best Western hotel until someone picked it up? I'm going to say no. And then lastly, in this case, and this is not to pick on these guys, or even I would say honestly, the memory lane case is way more egregious than these two other ones. This is like way worse. Because of not the FedEx part. The FedEx part it is what it is. It's to have it picked up, delivered to a Best Western hotel, and then just sits in this Best Western hotel. I can't say that seems wise. And then in this case, would a bank have 30 to 60K worth of cash just sitting in a car? I'm going to say no, because that's what armored trucks are for, right? And so that is the culture shift that needs to change. The mindset shift that needs to happen is to think about the cards in a way that reflects their true value. And the simple way is the one I just described. Don't think of it as cards, just think of it as the value in cash and in dollar bills. And so, you have to have these cards there. There's no way around it. That's the whole point of these shows, is to sell them, right? And so you're going to have a bunch of valuables. But one way to reduce the risk is to always make sure there's someone in the booth. Like each card dealer, if you have valuable cards, like high-end cards, should have a strict process and procedures in terms of physical security. I'm going to go to a limb and say most card dealers do not. And I think that each one should, because again, you have to have that mindset of, these aren't cards, these are just think of it as cash. And so the first thing would be, don't allow gaps in the thing, in the where the tables are set up, so that it allows people to walk in. And more importantly, don't have a full gap here where there's just like multiple gaps here where people can walk in. Secondly, there should always be someone inside the table area at all times. You can't have 1, 2, 3 all outside the booth area and nobody inside. That is just, it seems pretty obvious, right? But again, if you're like, oh, we're just card dealers at a card show, nobody's going to steal our stuff. No, that's not how a bank would operate with cash. So that's how you should think. And so that is the first, like, a couple of quick fixes right here. There's obviously more that they can do. Again, I am not a security expert, but just right off the bat, no gaps, no open availability for this guy to walk right in through the back, and always have one guy on the inside. You can't have all three guys working the booth on the outside. This one, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we're relying on the security of a Best Western hotel, and it's like slightly above minimum wage front desk staff. I think you guys can do better, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. What that is, I don't know, but it's not this. And again, I don't have all the solutions. I just know this ain't it. And then lastly, for this one, like, I don't want to pick on these two guys, but maybe drop out the cards at the hotel and then go for dinner, or at the very least, go back to the hotel, drop the cash off, bring the cards inside with you in a Zion case, or like the high-end ones at least, and then go from there. Again, I'm not blaming these guys, because these guys aren't doing anything unique. I think a bunch of dealers from this card show and other card shows are doing the exact same thing. These guys just happen to unfortunately be the victims of this. In this case, it could have been anybody else, because it's not, like I said, it's not something unique that these guys are doing. It's like a hobby-wide thing where we're not treating these cards with the security that they deserve because of their value. And so it's, like I said, it's not these guys. It's a hobby-wide like mindset that needs to change. Like, if you are, if you have $50,000 worth of cards, think of it as a $50,000 bill. You got $2 million in cards. It's just $2 million in $100 bills. So think of it that way. And then same thing here. A bank would not do this, and we would not do this if it was just straight cash. And so that is the video. I don't have all the answers. I'm just highlighting how things could possibly improve in this situation, and in this situation. I'm not blaming anybody. It's just the whole mindset of the hobby hasn't caught up with the times. And hopefully this video will encourage dealers and people in the hobby to improve their security process, maybe even document what the protocol for security should be. Like, for example, always have one guy in the inside booth or inside the booth at all times, close all the gaps where possible, some basic stuff like that, and then just drill it into their heads, because nobody else is going to look out for you in terms of security other than you guys yourselves. And so again, hopefully this drives more security, more physical security in the hobby, and reduces the amount of thefts and makes it way more difficult for thefts to occur at any card show or in any situation. So that's the video. Would love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Thank you as always for listening and watching. I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.